Welcome to Drinks in the Library, the only library where drinks aren't just allowed, they are required. I'm your librarian host, Gigi Howard, and each episode I'll be interviewing a guest about a much-loved book that we will be pairing with a drink for you to enjoy along with us or consider for your next book club meetup. As always, stay curious and support your local library. Happy Pride Month, Libration Nation. This week's episode is so special and fun with returning guest Rachel Yorkshire. Rachel is bringing us a wealth of books with LGBTQ stories by queer authors that she loves. We also enjoyed iced coffees, which, as Rachel says, is the gayest of all drinks. Rachel lives in Richmond with her wife Marissa and their very spoiled dog. She and her wife both post their bookish endeavors and reviews on their Bookstagram, Lesbi Readers, and they would love for you to give them a follow. If she's not reading, Rachel is probably daydreaming, laughing with friends, or bothering her dog. The first Pride March in New York City was held on June 28, 1970, on the one-year anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. This month, I encourage you to read stories that celebrate the LGBTQ community and the contributions that they have made toward our society. There's a lot of hate being directed towards this community right now, and I encourage all of us to stand with them, show support, and solidarity. All right, let's get to it. I'm excited that you're back.
Me too.
Yay. Okay, so we're doing books all about Pride today.
All about Pride. They are, I would call, gay books by gay authors.
Yes.
So when I was here last time, I talked about Carry On. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Rainbow Rowell's sexuality is. You know, she's married to a man with 2 kids, so who knows? But she handled it very well. But it's like, these are specifically gay authors.
Yes.
Somewhere on the LGBT plus line.
On the, I guess it's just queer is...
Yeah, umbrella term.
Queer
authors, queer books, all kinds of different genres. And I love gay books. As I said last time, that's not really a genre, but I think it is. And so I have around 14 or 15 books that we're going to talk about. Yeah, and I've sort of categorized them into, if you're a type of reader who likes this, or you're a type of person who likes this, maybe you would like this book.
Okay.
But the first one, if we can dive in.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The first one I'm going to talk about it's called Quietly Hostile by Samantha Irby. And she is a comedian and author and a TV writer. She wrote on, did you watch Sex and the City?
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch the spinoff and Just Like That?
Yes, I have feelings about it, so I stopped watching it.
She wrote on that.
Okay.
So you can take it up with her.
Okay. I don't think my feelings are with her. I think they're specifically with the male writer on there.
Yes. So she's hilarious, and she has multiple books of essays, comedic essays. And she and her wife live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and my friend got me this for my birthday a couple years ago. And I recommend this, honestly, to anyone who just wants to laugh. But the reason I'm bringing it up first, she's got 18 essays in it. But the very first one is called I Like It. Mm-hmm. And the reason I want to talk about it first is I'm going to talk about a lot of LGBT books today. And especially in sort of the Bookstagram world, you'll see a lot of people post about something they love or something they didn't love. And inevitably the comments will be like, I can't believe you didn't like that. Or I can't believe you like that.
Yeah.
So Samantha Irby kind of addresses that in this first essay.
Okay.
And she says, I don't have a lot of coping mechanisms that aren't wholly self-destructive, but here is one good one that I will recommend. Saying I like things that I like. And it says, at first blush, this doesn't sound revolutionary, I know, but let's get into it. And then she kind of describes encountering people who tell her, I can't believe you like that.
Yeah.
And she says, I need a sociology degree to write about this in a real way. But we live in such a hilariously stupid time where everyone is just hurling expectations of justification at each other constantly. And I'm sorry, lads, but I don't like it. I have no idea what news is real or which celebrity is an actual good person or what zeitgeisty show most deserves my attention or which cause is the correct one for me to text my $10 monetary support to. But I do know that if I pick the wrong one, someone I don't know very well or maybe don't even know at all is going to demand to know why. says, I can't live in hell and make excuses for ravenously consuming a shitty reality show produced by a person I don't know personally on a network I am unaffiliated with. So,
Oh my gosh, I love that.
yeah, I love that idea because I grew up a chronic people pleaser.
Yeah.
And when I would find out that something I liked wasn't cool or wasn't generally liked, I would think, I guess I'm wrong,
Yes.
And I have come a long way since then.
Oh my
And
gosh.
what do you like?
You need to teach
like what
me
you
how
like.
to do that.
I mean, I'm still learning. But
Yeah.
I love her advice on that. So Quietly Hostile is the first gay book, and it's just hilarious essays that anyone could relate to.
And I also really appreciate that because I'm also somebody I'm not really going to spend a lot of time. I mean, I guess I just told you I didn't like Sex in the City.
Right.
But I generally am like, I'd rather just talk about stuff I enjoy versus, crapping on
Absolutely.
things that I didn't
I think I'm the
enjoy.
same way. And I think, we're kind of on the same vibe with that.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about your podcast, I want it to be about books you love. You're tired of the critique part of reviewing books.
Yeah.
So these are all, I promise, all books that I have read and enjoyed. So
I have to read this.
yes, this one is very good. So
excellent.
So for the rest, I actually have categorized them into sort of silly categories, and I have them written all down in this bowl here.
Okay.
So you're going to pick one at a time, and we're going to go from there.
All right, here we go.
All right. First category.
First one. And I was like an MC for our staff awards this week.
Fun.
And we also had raffles. So this is like my second pulling things out of bowls this week. Okay. All right. For fans of vampire stories.
Incredible. Okay. So for fans of vampire stories, the book that I would suggest is called Vampires Never Get Old. And it is an anthology of essays about vampires, but they are from perspectives of queer people of color, disability, because it's edited by someone named Zoraida Cordova. And the intro to it says that, people love vampire stories, but so typically vampire stories are so white and so heteronormative and so patriarchal, which is true. You think about classic sort of vampire stories, and they're all centered around like white men.
Right.
So these are all short stories about vampires, but they do not center that kind of cis white heteronormativity. They're very interesting. They're diverse. One of them is actually by V.E. Schwab, who it's called First Kill, and it was made into a show on Netflix. I don't know if you saw it. I would definitely, if you like vampire things, which I do. Do you like vampire things?
Yeah.
You can say you don't like them.
I guess I don't know. I'm mid vampires.
Yeah. There's something about vampire stories that I just love. I just love them. So I loved this book because first of all, I love anthologies of short stories because it just feels like you get so much more out of it.
Yeah.
And then also because they were just so interesting, and I would definitely suggest it. So if you love vampire stories, and you want to read some gay vampire stories.
What was the first vampire story you read?
Oh my gosh. All I'm thinking of is Twilight.
Okay.
All I'm thinking of is Twilight.
Okay.
Is that
Anne Rice?
I never read Anne Rice. You know what?
Either.
I have had on my sort of TBR list for a while to read Interview with the Vampire. It's a whole series and things
I've
like
heard
that.
it's really good. I haven't read it.
I'm also fascinated by her because she went super devout Christian for a while and swore off writing about vampires and horror.
Really?
And then came back and was like, no, that was crazy. Let me go back to writing what I know. Yeah, she's back. Don't worry.
Good for her.
Yeah, so I guess Twilight, and my wife loves Twilight. We joke about it all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's a big vampire story fan as well.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Good. Okay.
All
I
right.
love that. All right. We
Next
had a lot
up.
of fun. Yeah, and this might go long because I always am like,
It's
more.
okay.
Tell me more about this vampire love. Okay. All right. Next one.
All right, next up.
All right. This is for history nerds.
Okay, this is one I actually read very recently, and I love it. I'm not really a history nerd, and this was a nonfiction book.
Bad Gays.
It's called Bad Gays, A Homosexual History.
Okay.
It is nonfiction. Like I said, it's historical by Hugh Lemmy and Ben Miller. And I found it so fascinating. So even if you don't think you like nonfiction or you don't think you like history, this is such a good book. So what they do in this book is you hear about sort of gay heroes throughout history. You hear about the Oscar Wildes and the people that people really admire. This is about the gays that were not good, that were maybe villains.
Yeah.
And they go in chronological order. So the first one they talk about is Hadrian, back in Greek and Roman times. And then they talk about Lawrence of Arabia. They talk about King James the 6th and 1st of England. And it's fascinating. And the sort of the run through, what I've noticed, in all of them is gayness and homosexuality, and the idea of it has changed throughout time. We, in modern times, think that the way people feel about gayness and homosexuality has always been that way. It's so much safer to be out and open and gay now, but there's this idea that gayness has always been seen as wrong. That wasn't always true. In a lot of these, it was sort of just of the times, or, it was a political power thing, or it was I'm
guessing religious.
Lots of religious issues.
Yeah.
So the most interesting one in here to me, before I became a nurse and got my nursing degree, I got a degree in religion. And so the most interesting one in here for me was James the 6th and 1st. He was the King of England. And he, for political reasons, had a translation of the Bible that we know as the King James Bible. The King James Bible. Which is, don't shoot the messenger, I learned from a professor of mine, the King James Bible is historically the most linguistically inaccurate translation of the Bible.
No, it's also the most boring.
It's so boring and so hateful, really.
Yeah.
It's really used in a lot of evangelical sort of literal translation of the Bible circles to perpetuate hate. Guess what? That man was a big old queen. So it's just so fascinating to me as someone who's interested in religion and the changing of religious ideas, that someone whose words and whose biggest project that he's remembered for is used to sort of hate on differences.
Yeah. That he was gay.
Men. Yeah, so it's sad, but it's interesting. And these two authors of it, they are white, cis, gay men. And a big part of it is that they talk about how white, cis male gayness has perpetuated a lot of homophobia. Because...
Can I have you... just say, for anyone listening, if they don't know what cis means.
Yes, absolutely. So cis is a prefix that means that you identify with the sex or gender that you were assigned at birth.
Right.
So I'm cis female. I was born female. I identify as female. It's the opposite of trans, which would mean if you were assigned female at birth and then you were, trans male. Yeah. So cis men are men that were born male, identify as male. And these two authors are cis males, white, homosexual. And so they talk a lot about how white male homosexuality has perpetuated a lot of the negativity around homophobia, because it's an othering of, I'm not trans, I'm not a person of color, I can still be in power. Yeah. They take their white maleness. Yeah. And a lot of these people in this book they talk about, they used it to stay above sort of the discrimination. Yeah. So it's fascinating. It's a fascinating read.
I have my TBR. It's just like,
it's going to get a lot longer. I know. It's so good.
I'm going to go on Libby and be like,
you can borrow this one if you want.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay, next one. Up. All right, this is fun. Okay. All right. This says, for people who love graphic novels.
Oh, yes. Okay. For people who love graphic novels, my suggestion is Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. Okay. Have you heard of it?
I know the author.
Yes. Have you heard of the Bechdel test?
I haven't. What is this?
Okay. So Alison Bechdel is a lesbian author and wrote this graphic novel called Fun Home, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I think she's most sort of vernacularly known for the Bechdel test, which is something that she created, and it is a test for movies. And you only pass the Bechdel test if you have at least two named female characters who have a conversation not about a man.
Okay.
And you would be surprised how many movies do not pass the Bechdel test. I mean, some of the biggest blockbusters and biggest hits throughout history, they don't pass the Bechdel test.
Sad.
So, yeah.
Yes.
So next time you're watching a movie, just think, am I seeing two named character women talk about anything except a man?
Okay.
But she wrote Fun Home, which is a graphic novel, not a graphic novel, it's a graphic memoir, because it's about her growing up in rural Pennsylvania and her relationship specifically with her father, who was a funeral director. So they called the funeral home the Fun Home. That's why she called it that.
Wow.
And it was a very tumultuous relationship. She described him as very tyrannical, and he was closeted. He was a closeted gay man. and who eventually took his own life. And so it's her kind of grappling with that and the memories of that. And she hand drew all the, photos in it and things like that. And so it weaves in, it's not linear, the story, but it weaves in her coming out as a lesbian to her parents and her kind of reconciling with her terrible relationship she had with her father and his own sexuality. And it's an incredible graphic memoir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. She's got a book coming out soon.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's on. I have an arc for it. I need to read it. So, okay, and start with this one. Start with Fun Home.
Yes. And I love graphic novels. Also, honorable mention to Heartstoppers.
Oh, yes.
If you do want a graphic novel that is very sweet, and as I love fluffy, read Heartstopper and then watch it on Netflix because the show is good too.
Okay, all right, Heartstoppers. I'm going to write that down. All right. Next up.
Yes.
Very fun. I love this. I need to get more interactive things with a forced guest. Entertain me. For fans of high fantasy.
Yes. Okay. This is the one we were talking about before we started, which you said that your husband is a fan of.
Yes. I got this for him last year for Father's Day.
Amazing.
And he loved it.
This is The Priory of the Orange Tree. It is by Samantha Shannon. Samantha Shannon is a British author. She is bi and she writes very queer, inclusive, high fantasy. I don't read a lot of high fantasy. As we learned in Carry On, sort of light fantasy is really my jam, but she is so amazing. She's such a good author.
Yeah.
So Priory of the Orange Tree is a very hefty book. So if you want a really long book, we're talking 800 pages. It's the story of a world. I don't believe the world is technically named, but it's a world that's split into sort of the East and the West. And in the West, there's a kingdom of a lineage of queens only called they're all named Sabrin. So we're on Sabrin the Ninth, and they fear and hate dragons. Dragons have brought this plague with them to the land. In the East, we have people who their dragons are actually different and they're very benign and they respect and revere and worship dragons and they have dragon riders. And so it weaves so many different storylines from people all over the world that they are in about this coming of this, the sort of the biggest and baddest dragon that might destroy them all. And it's definitely one where if you like a map in a book, you like a map and a glossary of characters, and I was flipping back and forth a lot when I was reading this.
Yeah.
She came out with a prequel to this, same world, but hundreds of years before, and then this fall, actually, an immediate prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree is coming out as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Samantha Shannon has really great other books as well, if you've never read The Bone Season.
Okay.
That one's really good.
Yeah.
But she writes characters that they don't feel tropey. It just feels inclusive, lesbian and trans and things like that.
Okay. All right. Oh,
Next one.
All right. For fans of horror movies.
Okay. Love this one.
Yes.
This one is called It Came from the Closet.
Ooh.
Which is a nice punny title.
I like the title, yeah.
Yes, it's Queer Reflections on Horror.
Okay.
So it was edited by someone named Joe Valise, and it's a collection of essays from queer people. And each essay takes a look at a horror movie that sort of shaped either their childhood or their gayness. Because I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of connection between horror movies and queerness for a lot of queer people.
I didn't know this. Tell me.
A lot of queer people see themselves reflected in horror movies, whether that's sort of the outsiderness of being queer or, I don't know, it's just something that comes up a lot in assessments of horror movies, is that it's a lot of times an allegory or a metaphor for being queer. And so this is an amazing collection of essays. And let me just read you some of the movies that they go over.
Oh.
Because if you like horror movies, they talk about The Exorcist, Jennifer's Body. Did you ever see that? It's like a big lesbian awakening for a lot of people.
Is that the one with Megan Fox?
It is.
Okay, yeah.
Hereditary, The Ring, Godzilla, The Wolfman. They have old and new alike movies.
Okay.
And every essay is sort of a reflection on why that impacted them as either a young gay person or a gay person in general.
Wow.
And I have come to love horror movies. I can't watch them. I'm too scared. But I love talking about them. I love reading about them.
I love that you love them.
I listen to a podcast that describes horror movies. It just talks about the plot.
Yeah.
It's called Too Scary Didn't Watch. And they just tell me the plot of horror movies. And I listen to it religiously.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So this is a really good one. It Came from the Closet if you like horror movies.
Okay. Do you want to dive into our iced coffee. Thank you. Also, you brought me iced coffee.
You're so welcome.
So
well, you do a drink with your books, and I don't have one book. I just have gay books. So I thought, what's the gayest drink I can think of? It's iced coffee.
Okay. I love it.
And you were like, maybe you could explain that. And I don't know that I can. I did. It's sort of one of those, I think it's a mixture of internet culture, maybe a little bit of white male gayness. But yeah.
Okay.
A lot of queer people just love iced coffee.
Okay.
Including me.
Yeah.
Drink it all winter,
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yes. So I did not know this, but I'm so glad to be supporting. I'm the same way. I will drink iced coffee even when it's cold out.
You're a true ally.
Yeah. Thank you. I knew I was doing something right. Okay, here we go.
Yes.
Next up. All right, for when you want a supernatural young adult novel.
Yes, okay. This one is Cemetery Boys.
Oh, okay.
All right, this one is Cemetery Boys. It is by a trans man named Aiden Thomas.
Okay.
And this is about, the main character's name is Yadriel, and he is a young trans man who, his family are supernatural. They have, the men of the family are considered brujos, and the women are brujas, where brujos can summon and help spirits stuck on earth to be released, and then brujas, the women, are healers. So he, as a young trans man, he wants to prove that he is a brujo. He is not a bruja. He is male. He can summon spirits. He can release them. And so he tries to summon his cousin, who was recently deceased, and it's a big, family trauma. But he accidentally summons a boy named Julian from his high school who doesn't remember how he died. And so then he has to try and help Julian while also proving to his family that he can do this. And it is YA. They're in high school. So it's not super intense, but it's very good. A little bit spooky.
Okay. And is there, from him wanting to be a bruju and not be a bruja, I'm guessing that kind of ties in to discovering himself. And
Absolutely. Yeah. He, in the beginning, he knows it. His, cousin that he's very close with, who's a girl, knows it and is supportive. And some family members are supportive, but I can't speak to this. I'm not trans, but I know that a lot of trans people experience this, where their families will still dead name them and think of them as the gender they were assigned at birth, and can be really traumatizing.
Yeah.
And so it goes into that, but it's just a really good spooky book too. I recommend reading it around Halloween.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. All right. And I also just once again want to thank you so much. You are doing all the heavy lifting right now. I literally am just pulling things out of a bowl.
I'm so happy to do it. I love nothing more than talking about gay books and suggesting gay books and being like, oh, if you like this, you should read this.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. Okay. And this is amazing. Okay. This is for me. For people who love coming of age stories, which I love.
I don't have a copy of this one. I would love to get it. This suggestion, if you love coming of age stories, I recommend a book called Aristotle and Dante, Discover the Secrets of the Universe. It's a very long title. It is by a man named Benjamin Alire Syons. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it is a coming of age story set in 1987. In El Paso. The main characters, they are named Aristotle and Dante. Aristotle goes by Ari. And Ari is the main character and meets Dante, who's sort of just different than everyone he's ever met. And they become best friends. And I think that learning a little bit about the author, he didn't come out until he was in his 40s. And so I wonder if writing these sort of coming of age stories is a way to kind of repair that closeted feeling when he was a young boy.
Yeah.
I love audiobooks. Some people don't love audiobooks. I do recommend you listen to the audiobook of this because it's narrated by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he just does such a good job of making the characters come alive.
We're so lucky to be alive at the same time. Yeah.
I know. Absolutely. I agree. I just think he's great. So he narrates it. There is a sequel that I haven't read yet. He also narrates that one. But Ari and Dante has to move away to Chicago because of his family's work and jobs and things, and they write letters to each other. And it's sort of about Ari's discovery of, because Dante's very upfront about, I love you. You're my best friend. I love you. And Ari, as a boy in El Paso in 1987, he struggles with that. So it's a very sweet story.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, your TBR list is getting so long.
Oh, no. It's so much fun. Okay. Here we go. All right. The next one we have is gays who love going to the bars.
Love this.
Yes.
Okay. I actually have 2 suggestions for this.
Okay.
So the first one is called Moby Dyke.
Which I have... Moby Dick as in itself has been covered so many ways on this podcast. I've never...
Here's another one.
I've never had it, but so many guests
So
are
many
like...
people reference it.
I'm like, I love Moby Dick. I'm like, I've never
read Moby Dick, but Moby Dyke, I suggest.
Okay, so we're talking about Moby Dyke.
Moby Dyke is by Krista Burton, and the subtitle of it is An Obsessive Quest to Track Down the Last Remaining Lesbian Bars in America. So, gay bars are in most major cities, but particularly lesbian bars. There are only, I think, around 21 left in the whole country.
Really?
Yeah, from getting shut down and things like that, or various reasons. But we are lucky enough in Richmond. We have one. Babes of Carytown is a lesbian bar.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, and this author traveled around the country, visiting as many lesbian bars as she could, and sort of just discovering about herself and about America and gay culture and lesbian culture. And she visited Babes of Carytown. So there's a chapter. I want to read it. I just want to read a second about it. She talks about the sand volleyball courts. So Babes, if anyone doesn't know, Babes of Carytown, it is a bar that has been around in Richmond for a long time. It is on Cary Street.
Which is our main street.
Yeah. And it is unique in that it is a bar and restaurant and things like that. It has a sand volleyball court in the back of it. And so it's a full sand volleyball court. And so our gay sports league, Stonewall in Richmond, after kickball games on Sundays, everyone will go to Babes and hang out there. It's a big gathering place for the queer community.
Okay.
So this author, Krista Burton, visited it in her journeys, and she had a rule where she had to go twice to a bar because she didn't want, if it was an off night or something like that, she didn't want to, be deterred by that. So she went twice to Babes, once at night and once during the day. And during the day, people were playing sand volleyball. And at night, they just have tables out there. And she said she waited almost an hour for the bathroom, which is very true if you've ever been to Babes.
They should have 2. They should have more, because women, we just take longer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So this says that Maggie took my arm again, and she, Davin, and I went out to the rooftop beach volleyball court. At night, there were metal tables and chairs set up in the sand. You could look up at the dark sky and see down the street into the neighborhood. The air was getting chilly, and the leaves in the treetops rustled. I felt a familiar pang of envy. Richmond was a little big city stuffed with history and queers, and they all had this bar. They could come whenever they liked. That's what she said. They could hang out here. They could dance. They could go to one of the drag shows Babes was locally famous for. They could gloat over the lunch and dinner specials. I'd heard the chicken tenders were incredible.
Ooh.
So I just thought, sometimes I have mixed feelings about Babes. I know friends of mine do too. Some people love it. Some people don't care for it as much, but it's, it's one of those, that's my town. I'm so happy to see myself in this book, and it's just so sweet. It was a nice reminder of, what? We do have a really awesome queer community in Richmond.
Good. Yes. Yeah. Richmond's a great place to live.
It is. It really is. My wife and I moved here in early 2021, so we have not even been here that long. We just can't imagine moving away. It's just so great.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So that is one of the, if you're gay, likes going to the bars.
Okay.
The other one is just called Gay Bar. And the subtitle is Why We Went Out. This is by Jeremy Atherton Lynn. I must admit, I have not read this yet. I do own it. Not read it yet, but it is, I would say, if that's sort of the lesbian bar book, Gay Bar is probably more on the sort of, male side or gay side. And it's just sort of about the history of gay bars in America, and especially through things like the AIDS crisis and, sort of the tumultuous like 80s and 90s and things like that. I have not read it, but I've heard good things. So,
okay.
Gay Bar.
Yay. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Next up. All right. For fans of The Bachelor or Bachelorette, but make it gay.
Yes. Okay, this one is called The Charm Offensive by Allison Cochran. And are you a fan of The Bachelor?
I have been.
Yeah.
I'm not currently watching it, but
I feel like every white millennial woman can say that.
Yeah,
at some point, you've been a fan of The Bachelor or Bachelorette.
Absolutely.
Or Bachelor in Paradise or whatever.
Oh, Bachelor in Paradise, I got down to that one.
Yes, exactly. So Charm Offensive is a book about a Bachelor-like show. They obviously don't call it The Bachelor, but this man named Charlie Winshaw, he has to kind of rehab his image. He has sort of a bad boy image in the media. So he agrees to go on this show and try to meet his wife. But he seems to have more chemistry with Dev, who's a male producer on the show. And Dev is sort of in this war of, I'm tasked with my job and making this good TV, and he needs to be successful at this. And also I can see that this is not right for him. And like they have this intense chemistry. It's, of course, a fluffy book that I love. So
Yeah.
it's angsty, but it's like light angst, you know?
Yeah.
What you would expect from sort of a rom-com-y kind of book.
Okay.
But I loved the premise of that.
Yeah.
If you like shows like that. Because what I love about The Bachelor is not so much the show itself, but sort of the idea of what goes on behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
There's this show on Lifetime called Unreal. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it's...
I think we saw like the first couple episodes.
It's like a fictionalized version of a show like that and how intense and wild it is and what the producers try to do to get good television. And I loved that. And so I loved Charm Offensive. So if you like The Bachelor, you should read that.
Charm Offensive.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We're getting down. We just have a few left.
Oh, no.
Okay. It's going to be. All right. For when you want a spooky, mysterious, and you have in all caps, you wrote sad book.
Yes. This is a book I just recently listened to. I would recommend reading it or listening to it. The audiobook was very good. Called Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. And the reason I put horribly sad is that this book it's not hard to describe. The premise is pretty straightforward. Two women, Miri and Leah, they are married. And Leah goes on a submarine mission to study sort of the bottom of the ocean. It's supposed to last 3 weeks. And she's gone for 6 months. They get lost. No one knows where they are. And then she comes back. She does come back because you start and you know that she's back. And Miri, who is her wife at home, is noticing, this is not my wife. This is someone or something different. So it's written from both of their perspectives, and Miri's perspective is written in the present and what is going on with Leah at home and how she's acting and weird stuff starts happening. And then Leah's perspective on her chapters is what happened on the submarine. So that in itself sounds sci-fi and spooky and almost horror-y, but it's more than that. It's just it's just sad, you know? This was my wife, and they talk about all these memories they had together and who she used to be, and I've lost that, you know?
Yeah.
And it just, it broke my heart. Probably broke my heart because I have a wife, and, you know, you just think about what would happen if that did happen. But it's also just a beautifully written book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, submarines are like my biggest fear. Will never catch me on a submarine.
You know, people will say, would you rather go to the bottom of the ocean or go into space?
Never.
Neither. Neither.
Same.
Gun to my head, pull the trigger.
I was thinking the same
Why?
thing.
No.
Why? I'm fine here.
What's going on down there?
Nothing.
None of my business. It's none of my business. Did you know William Shatner went to space and said it was the most depressed he'd ever been?
I did see that. Yeah.
Which makes sense because you go up there, it's silent and scary, and you look down and you see this planet, everyone and everything you've ever known exists, and you're not there anymore. And yes, that sounds horribly depressing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You will not. Rachel and Gigi.
Nope. Will not be there.
Nope.
Land lubbers.
Staying here, people. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Fans of classic cinema.
This is a fun one, too.
Okay.
They're all fun.
They are.
I love all these books.
Yes. Okay.
This is called Movies That Made Me Gay, and it is by a man named Larry Duplechin. And this is a book about, it's sort of a memoir almost, but he goes through classic and more modern, but classic movies, and not just gay movies. I mean, he talks about The Wizard of Oz and things like movies that he watches over and over, that throughout his life he'll weave in these stories about where he was. Like you ask people, who were you when you read this? You know, he talks about who he was when he first saw this.
Yeah.
And then who he's become now because of it. This is one of those that you read and you just have to remember, he is an older Black gay man.
Okay.
And so his perspective on movies from the 30s and 40s and 50s because, he talks about watching old movies like that. There is some language that modern people, you'd be like, oh, why would you say that? Or, but you just have to remember that this is from his perspective and this is his life and his, the way that he views things. So it's just so cool. He separates the sections of the book into basically holidays because he and his husband will watch certain movies only during certain times of the year. So let me see if I can find the categories. Okay, so he has Black History Month, Lent/Easter, aka the Jesus and Judy Film Festival, Pride Month, 4th of July, Halloween, and Christmas. And the Halloween one was fun because some of that overlapped with the other book that I liked, From the Closet.
Yeah.
And, yeah. But it was a very fun read. I would read it again for sure. And yeah, if you're a big movie buff, especially classic movies, you would like this one.
Very cool. I like the cover, too. It has Rainbow Dorothy.
Yes, it has Dorothy looking off in the distance with a big rainbow swoosh around her.
Yes. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why remember in Clueless, it was like...
Friend of Dorothy?
Friend of Dorothy.
Do you know what Friend of Dorothy means?
That's what I'm asking. Yeah.
All right. So here's a lesson.
Okay,
Love this.
Great.
A friend of Dorothy is a gay person.
Yeah.
And the reason is that particularly gay men, when they had to be closeted in the 30s, 40s, 50s, Judy Garland was a huge gay rights supporter, even then. A huge ally.
Good.
And gay men knew that and identified that about her. So if you said you were a friend of Dorothy, her most famous character that she played, it meant you were a gay man.
Okay.
But it was so sort of secretive. Gay people knew what it meant, but it was so secretive that I believe the FBI tried to investigate who Dorothy was and thought that Dorothy was a real person because there was a huge correlation, especially in the 40s and 50s, between if you were gay, you were a communist. And so the Red Scare was actually very homophobic as well. J. Edgar Hoover is actually in that Bad Gays book, too. He was a big queen, too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Not a good person.
Yeah, I'm just going to go on record. I'm not a fan of
Not
J.
a fan. Not. You know what? We say what we like and we say what we don't like.
Yeah.
We don't like J. Edgar Hoover.
We're coming down.
And we're standing on that.
We're standing here. Yes, absolutely.
So Friend of Dorothy is a gay person, and it's a term that came from the mid, 1900s, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much for explaining that.
You're so welcome.
As we already covered, I'm just like a classic millennial, so I've seen Clueless 47 times.
Yes.
And that's a famous
Prada
line.
wearing.
Yeah. Friend of
Light in the loafers.
Yes. Everyone knows what I'm referencing.
Dorothy,
yeah. And he says friend of Dorothy. And I knew what it meant gay, but I was like, I never knew why. So.
Yeah. Judy Garland.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judy.
Yes. Thank you, Judy.
All right. Okay. Oh, no. So
One
last
left?
one.
Oh, no.
Okay. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. For a lover. Oh, this is perfect for
Perfect
you.
to end on this,
yes, perfect to end on this one. Lovers of fluffy rom-coms.
Yes, which is my favorite.
Yeah,
my favorite type
that's
of
your
book.
favorite, yes.
So the one that I brought, and I can talk about others as well, but this is called Stars in Your Eyes. It's by Kaysen Callender. Kaysen Callender also wrote, I think, a book that more people would recognize by Kaysen Callender is called Felix Ever After.
Okay.
And on the cover is a man wearing a flower crown, or person wearing a flower crown.
Yes,
I don't know if that sounds familiar to you.
Yeah.
Stars in Your Eyes is a fake dating trope between two male actors in Hollywood. There's Logan, who's sort of the bad boy, and Maddie is the golden boy, and they're co-stars in this movie, and Logan gets caught bad-mouthing Maddie. He's a terrible actor, blah, 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 blah. Logan's been famous for a long time. Maddie's up and coming. So to rehab Logan's image, their publicists ask them to start fake dating so that people will think Logan is in better favor if he's with someone like Maddie. And if you can believe it, sparks start flying.
They're at.
So fake dating is such a classic trope in even straight rom-com books, but this is a nice gay twist on it. And it's just, I also, just certain genres and tropes just get you. And there's something about like celebrity and like Hollywood actor, I don't know, maybe like the Charm Offensive kind of thing like that, even that like on a TV show. I just really like it. So.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We have covered the gamut.
Yes, we have.
You knocked it out of the park.
Oh, thank you.
I really can't thank you enough. This has been So much fun. I wanted to ask you, is there anything else you wanted to touch on today?
No, I just really appreciate you having me on for a Pride episode. I think in this political climate in the country, it's very important for straight people to stand up and be very vocally allied with LGBT.
Yeah.
Maybe emphasis on the T right now, because even some LGBT people are aligning with this idea that trans people don't belong, and that's just not true. There is no gay community, there's no queer community, there's no LGBT without trans people. So I do want to say that. Yeah. And then I also want to give a little, you said you were reading about sort of the Pride movement and things in America before I got here.
Right. Learning about Brenda Howard and Gilbert Baker.
Yes.
And Stonewall.
Yes.
Pride Month.
I do encourage, if you, everyone has people in their life that are LGBT, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
And I just encourage you, if you identify as straight or cis, just to read up on it and to educate yourself. There's a lot of fear and hate mongering going on right now. The phrase LGBT, as a lesbian, I like this story. It used to be GLBT. Okay. Gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. And the reason it's LGBT, have you heard this before? Mm-mm. The reason it's LGBT is during the AIDS crisis, everyone avoided gay men and really abandoned them, even their families. Yeah. And lesbians were the ones who showed up for them and held their hand in the hospital and were with them when they died and weren't afraid of them. And so gay men decided it should be LGBT because the lesbians were there for them. So
tearing up.
I know. I'm so proud of being gay, and it's made my life open up in a way that I never thought it could before I realized, what I was feeling. And I think that it's such an awesome time to be alive and to be gay. And there are still some scary things happening. So just, hold your gay friends and family tight and and read some gay books.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. I am just so glad. And actually, I'm looking over, if I can do plug for one of my favorite gay authors, is R. Eric Thomas. Okay. I'm looking over, I have this, I don't know why I just leave it on the floor. It's like, I've read it like 6 times. Here for It, or How to Save Your Soul in America. And he's queer, he's Black, and he's gay, and he's also struggles with he grew up super Christian, which I also grew up super Christian, and still my parents listening and do believe in God and everything, but
they can coexist.
Yeah, and so it's sort of like his struggles with all of that, but then also I wish I was as funny as he is.
I love reading an author like that.
Yes. Yeah. So I was looking over and I was like, I love R. Eric Thomas, and he has a newsletter too, and he's just the funniest person in America. We should vote for him. He's my president.
Stand on it.
Yeah.
We like him. R. Eric Thomas. Go read him.
Yes. Yeah. So anyhow, thank you so much. All right. Also, you and Marissa's Lesbi Readers.
The Bookstagram. You know what? I'm going to say this. It has slowed down a lot. I have a full-time job, and
I feel
these influencers and Bookstagrammers, I'm so impressed by them.
Yeah.
And they do a really good job.
They do.
And I try to do a good job.
Yeah.
I think that doing this podcast is going to reinvigorate me, and I'm going to maybe do some posts about these books, and then that will be a nice coinciding thing for Pride Month. Yes, if you want to check out our Bookstagram and go follow us, it's Lesbi Readers, Lesbe Readers on Instagram, and we just post about the books that we read, and it's a good time.
Yeah. Good. All right. You're the best. Thank you.
You're the best.
Thank you. And cheers. Iced coffee.
Cheers.
Woo-hoo.
The gayest drink there is.
Yes. Cheers. Thank you for spending some time with me and my guest for an episode of Drinks in the Library. For more information about the show, you can find us on Instagram at Drinks in the Library, on the World Wide Web, drinksinthelibrary.com, or shoot me an email at drinkspod@gmail.com. Until next time, cheers.